I think the way politics used to work is like when you go home for the holidays and you go to the back bathroom and you jerk off, and then you go to the dinner table where everyone's at and you look them right in the eye like you didn't just jerk off. That's how the government used to be run. You know, you just look at everybody like you don't maybe have a little bit of cum on your elbow from before. Pass the turkey. I think now it's like if you went home for the holidays and you just jumped right up on the dinner table and started jerking off in everyone's face. Right? And then when they're like, what are you doing? You're like, fake news. Lying media. I'm not jerking off. Quit trusting your eyes. Where did you hear that? CNN? And then he comes on Grandma's face and cuts the family budget. Sells us all out to Walmart.
So Chris Paugh, man, what's up?
Not much, man. Just, hanging in there.
Yeah. Right. Living a COVID-free lifestyle?
As much as possible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, trying to, just out here making sure I don't get the CO2 poisoning. Wearing a mask all the time.
Right.
I saw a YouTube video with this doctor that's been fired 8 times from different hospitals warning me about it. So
I've heard other things from that same doctor.
Yeah, that the numbers are all bullshit, and we need not worry because it's a hoax, and millions of people have recovered, and they're just fine because 7 months into a pandemic, we know exactly what the long-term effects are. Yeah, well, there you have it. I'll go right back to having strangers spit in my mouth.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, I had a girl, she unfriended me and blocked me because she said she wasn't going to wear a mask because she didn't want to die of carbon monoxide poisoning. I was like, are you going to shove a furnace up your mask hole? And that was it. That's all it took,
Yeah. It's amazing everybody's an expert on experts all of a sudden. I've seen the word so-called experts so many times. And it's like, oh, you mean people that study a thing, like one specific thing for years of their life so that you don't have to know shit?
Everybody knows everything. They read a meme or watch a YouTube video, and all of a sudden they're, doctors and scientists. Not that I have, any experience in either being a doctor, except for, on occasion I'll remove my own, like, ingrown toenails.
Right.
Or I've done dental work on myself, but not that I'm a doctor or a scientist, and believe me, I spout off on Facebook just as much as anybody, but,
right.
I'm only spouting off what I hear from actual professionals, like doctors and scientists, and, my wife has some medical issues, so we have talked to her doctor about this, and what she can do to be safe, and what would happen if she becomes positive, and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I don't want to get into serious shit today,
Well, her doctor told you not to worry about it, right?
Yes.
That it's a hoax. And
he said the numbers are skewed. It's not 130,000 dead. It's only 3,000 dead, and Obama should be in prison for it.
Then he pulled out his prescription card and wrote, "Quit being a snowflake," and screams Trump 2020 in your face on the way up.
Right, exactly. They call me a sheep. Yeah, right. They call me.
I'm loving these. I understand some of them may be just people trying to get attention for some local seat that they're running for. in really red areas, but I'm loving the public freak out videos of just older white women just screaming bah bah, like making sheep noises at people and freaking out because they're asked to be considerate of other human life.
Right. I don't want to wear a mask. You're just sheep. All right. I want to touch base on this real quick. I've always seen like comedians as, kind of on par with musicians. We both have to hustle to get the same gigs. We both, have late nights for peanuts at the end of the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And since the pandemic has hit, like I had a couple of gigs at the beginning of the year, and we haven't played since. Have you been out doing anything?
No, I did one open mic maybe 2 weeks before everything started really coming out. But I hadn't been. I put my album out last year, the year before, and I'd kind of slowed down. I was just gearing up to start writing material to record another CD in the next year, and that the open mic that I went to was kind of was me getting back out there, and then everything got closed down.
Perfect timing, Chris.
Yes, now I'm just really focused on being funnier and smarter than everyone on Facebook.
Well, that's not hard to do. Yeah, we haven't, done anything. We've had a bunch of gigs canceled. We just had another one canceled that we weren't scheduled to play until the end of August, and they canceled. And I expect there to be more, but I do have one in 2 weeks, and it's out by the islands at a private club, so I don't expect them to cancel, and I'm not really looking forward to it, But there's people out there doing it, man, and I think it's just insane. I think I don't know.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people doing we're doing the Zoom stand-up shows, but I can't really get my head around doing it that way.
It's got to be weird.
Just yelling jokes into my phone while people maybe listen at home. It doesn't appeal to me that much if I can't hear the people laughing or groaning or whatever they're gonna do.
Right.
They
don't
screaming at me to get off the stage.
They don't have canned laugh tracks that they can play back.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be the worst.
Like, how did you get into comedy? Is that something you've always done or always wanted to do? I should say.
It's going on 9 years. I just I was when I was younger, I was in bands, but I was never committed enough to be that good at an instrument.
Right.
I was more I wanted to perform, but I didn't want to really put in the time or the effort to learn an instrument well enough to do that.
Oh, those are called singers.
What are they called?
Singers.
Yeah. Well, we can hear my voice, so that wasn't a road I was able to take either.
Okay, those are called singers in a punk band.
Hey, just a quick aside. Have you noticed, like in the musician community, is it crazy that so many people that grew up as punks and kind of like on the fringes of society and shit are like big Trump supporters now?
Holy shit. I was just having this conversation with my wife today. I was like, I cannot believe how many friends we have that are like these conspiracy theorists and Trump supporters and stuff. Like, yes, absolutely. I'm like, I cannot believe it. I'm like,
it's amazing that people that totally grew up like fuck the cops, fuck the system, in punk scenes and shit like that are like bootlickers.
Exactly.
They're all bootlicking racist all of a sudden. I don't know what that is. Like, if people just turn 30 or 40, like white dudes just turn 30 or 40, and all of a sudden they just become everything that they pretended to hate the whole time.
That's it. They buy a
It makes me
house.
wonder how many people it really is just like they just like to wear shit with an anarchy symbol on it or some,
Yeah, right.
you know, the
Exactly.
fashion thing.
I mean, that's kind of where I come from, you know, like when I was a kid back in the 80s, I was a skateboarder and listening to Black Flag and Sam Hain records and stuff, you know. And
Yeah,
yeah, when I started getting into bands and stuff, I, started in hardcore bands and like punk bands, you know, when I went on tour, it was with punk bands. And I'm the same way. I'm a little bit more responsible now. I got bills to pay, whatever. I raised my kid. She's grown and gone. So some of that responsibility is reverting back, and I'm turning back into a child. But, you know, there,
yeah. I mean, it's also there is a way to do both. Like, you could be a
exactly.
responsible and contribute to society and not be a complete piece of shit
Right,
uh
exactly. You could be a grown
to
adult,
everyone else.
yes, and pay your bills and feed your kids, but at the same time, you could be like, no, I don't subscribe to that. Fuck you. Like, I'm
Yeah,
going to throw this brick through the window and you're going to listen to me. I mean,
right.
right. Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely.
It,
Yeah.
it really, like,
Um
between the whole protests and the Black Lives Matter movement and like the pandemic and shit, it's really like there's a lot of people that were my friends that I'm like, all right, I see you now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, yeah, it's
yeah, it's
insane.
incredible, man. It's
Yeah.
it's very strange. Um but yeah, I got into comedy. uh uh Back off of the tangent. Mainly it was like after trying to be in bands, and I had a podcast with a friend, and that never we would have long hiatuses, which were not necessarily his fault, but stand up just ended being something I could do where I only had to rely on myself, where I
Hmm.
didn't have like bandmates or like a podcast partner, or when I was into writing comic books and stuff, you'd have to wait for the artist to do their part, or the writer to do their part. And stand up was something I finally found that I was like, okay, I write my jokes, I take myself to the shows. No one else has to, make any of the sacrifices of their personal time or anything like that to for me to do this. And so far in life, it is the one thing I've stuck to the longest, really. I've honestly, the last couple of years that I've been kind of slacking on comedy is I honestly got to a place with after that last election and shit where I was like, I don't know if I give a shit about people or making them laugh anymore.
Right.
But I say that at the same time. I mean, he barely won. Uh, I always, kind of forget that when I get lost in the, being annoyed with the whole country. Like, dude did not pull out the popular vote, so maybe there's not as many awful people as I want to think.
Right. I happen to believe, and it might be a conspiracy theory, I don't know, but I happen to believe that if Russia wasn't involved, he wouldn't have won. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I happen to believe
People
that.
argue against that with the under the idea that I mean, I don't think he even had to know for Russia to just spread misinformation from, like, with 4chan and fake. Uh, Although I don't know how much you know about 4chan, but those are mostly just a lot of discontent, like fucking World of Warcraft kids online, just
Right. That's kind of how I imagine it, just like a bunch of gamers, angry gamers.
Yeah, it absolutely it is too. Steve Bannon, the Trump's campaign advisor, had a job in China or Japan where he was working with the servers for World of Warcraft, and he realized how many just upset young white people with no identity were out there that could be kind of taken advantage of and steered in the right direction, and now they are all Proud Boys. That was a huge part of it, and 4chan is the source of a lot of the misinformation that got out in 2016 about, Hillary and pedophile pizza parlors.
Right. I couldn't even believe that was a thing. When that was going around, I'm like, are these people, do they seriously believe this shit? Like, this is real,
Yeah, they really do. But it's also, it's a lot of people's, like their grandmas and aunts that just barely understand the internet. Some whiz kid, grandchild set them up with a Facebook, and they just see like stupid shit from their churches and whatnot, and just all they do is type amen and share it and then repeat it, and it's Fox News in the background all day.
Right. Police lives matter. What do you mean? Are they oppressed? Can't they just take off their uniform? Then they're not oppressed anymore. Yay! Problem solved.
I do think if they're gonna take their uniforms off, they should get the Inglorious Bastards treatment though, and get a badge carved into their forehead by Brad Pitt.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a job. It's not a.
No.
They weren't born in a uniform.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of getting sick of the whole Facebook thing. I just, after talking with my wife today, I'm like, you know what? It's going to be music promotion and like this video. I don't even know what this is, a podcast thing that I do now, and that's it, man. I don't even want to get involved. We'll do what we have to do to stay alive. And fuck everyone else. You know what I mean?
Man, I've thrown my hands up 10 or 15 times this year and been like, look, as far as we're concerned, it's the fucking Walking Dead outside.
Right, exactly.
We go on food runs, we do what we gotta do,
right,
and fuck everybody. But yeah, I've taken just months at a time off of Facebook over the last few years, and I do it's usually the comedy thing is why I keep coming back to it to promote shit and that kind of thing.
It's the same thing with musicians. You almost have to have it if you're going to try to promote like any sort of gig or any sort of band, whatever.
Yeah, and even beyond the promoting, it's like most of the gigs you get are people, they'll hit you up on Messenger, on Facebook, and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's almost it's like a necessary evil. My wife has said on numerous occasions that, if it weren't for her business page, she wouldn't have a profile. She would delete it. I wish Facebook would say, all right, you just want to have a presence on Facebook as a business, cool, and not have to deal with the whole, personal profile thing, but that's just not the case,
Yeah. That would be my real goal in stand-up if things ever go back to somewhat normal, is just being big enough to have someone run my social media for me.
Yeah. Right.
Just jump on there and say shit you think I would say. Just leave me out of it.
Right. We have a guy designated in our band that, well, it's not really one. I guess everybody has the ability to post on Facebook, but there's a guy who does most of it, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with any of it because I'll say shit that the rest of the band doesn't agree with. I'm kind of like the outcast in the band. I'm the only person that lives in Lake County. Everybody else is in Strongsville and Parma and Akron, and I'm way out here in Madison. And Yeah, I'm, the punk of the band, so I'm the one with the big mouth. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the only reason why this band has been as successful as it has is because I shut up and let somebody else do the talking, So
Yeah.
I don't book the gigs, which is good. I'm not the face of the band. I take the checks, I do the banking, I pay the taxes and all that stuff, but you know, I don't do any of the public speaking because I will ruin it for everyone. I am a letdown. You know what I mean? I'm just a fucking
Yes.
big mouth, that's all. I don't know how to shut up, you know?
Yeah, I have the same issue, except I don't. I mean, the podcast that we do, there's three other people on it, but I'm the host and the one that kind of has to go like, all right, well, are we gonna record this week and stuff like that, and it's the podcast is an offshoot of the roast battles that we've been until COVID been running for a little over for almost 5 years now, and yeah, I it's the same deal. I do all that stuff, but I've had to get them to start booking it because no one likes me anymore. Because I've just had it with everybody, and I've just gotten more and more comfortable with letting them know about it.
Right. Mm, yeah. It's probably a good thing, well, that I'm not the face of the band. I hear you on that, but I don't even know why people listen to these things that I make, but I made one and I thought it was kind of funny, if anything, just talking to my buddy Matt, who's been in a million bands and stuff, and everybody was like, "That's great. Do more." I'm like, "All right." I got nothing else to do. There's no gigs on the weekend, like sure thing.
Are they typically very political, or are they gonna hate this one?
No, they'll hate this one, but I don't care. This is the first time that
Yeah.
I've talked to somebody who is not a musician. Because I mean that's really kind of basically what I'm doing. I've actually have a one that I'm. The reason why I'm pre-recording this one is I have one that I'm working on right now that I'm releasing tomorrow or Saturday. Another bass player guy, and I've got 4 others lined up that are all musicians. And when you said I want to be on your show, I'm like, well, that's awesome because I want to do something that's not music related and just like talk to somebody. You know what I mean? And don't have to say, so what kind of wood is that guitar made out of? Not that I don't like doing
Uh,
that. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy that stuff. I'm a total gearhead nerd, but I just
yeah.
I'm always open to
So
do
you want to
different
do
things.
like an hour on music now?
What's that? Yeah.
I said, so do you want to do like an hour about music?
Right. What is your favorite band?
Man, I don't have one anymore.
Yeah, me
At the
neither.
moment, I think it's Wu-Tang.
Really?
Wu-Tang Clan I've been listening to quite a bit lately.
Wow, you went the total opposite direction as me. 'Cause I listen to nothing but like jazz and neoclassical, if I listen to music at all.
Yeah. No, I do that too. I was a grunge kid, and shit like that, and into punk and stuff. But somewhere around the mid 2000s, I feel like rap became the more authentically rebellious. That kind of energy that punk and rock used to have in the 80s and 90s kind of moved over to rap in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
I know 90s is or the Wu-Tang Clan is a 90s group, but that's when I kind of went over to a little more rap and like kind of going back and checking out some of that stuff from before, because I think the last new like rock group, and this is really gonna date me, that I got into a lot was like the White Stripes, which is like almost 20 years ago now.
Right.
So
Doesn't seem like it. When you reach a certain age 20 years ago, it seems like last week, you know?
yeah, Yeah, I'll be 40 next year, and I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, when people bring up the 90s, I don't feel like it's that long ago, but I imagine it's, when I was a kid, when somebody would bring up the 70s, I'm like, that's ancient history.
Right.
Yeah, musically, that's where I'm at. Run the Jewels, Wu-Tang. I like Childish Gambino a lot right now. I honestly can't name a newer rock band that I'm all that into at this point.
I can't either because I don't know them. I don't even know any of those bands you just mentioned except
Who are those Nickelback kids?
I think they're from Canada. They don't count. I don't really know them.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
That sounds right.
I have no clue, man.
I think also most rock in the 2000s they were kind of Nirvana clones and Korn clones.
Yeah, there was a lot of it was either grunge or new metal. Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of my dad sucks kind of.
Yeah. And then in the 90s was an explosion. Well, there was also like a big explosion of, well, I guess it wasn't big, but there was a lot of bands that came out of Manchester, or basically riding on like Morrissey's coattails. And
yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the pinchy alternative stuff, who was that chick that always had her boobs out? Liz Phair. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Lisa Loeb and all, Lilith Fair chicks.
Fiona Apple.
Right, and then you had the coinciding boy bands like Hootie and the Blowfish, and what was that other band with the guy with the dreadlocks, Mrs. Jones and Me?
Oh man, Counting Crows. I'll defend that one. I really I still enjoy the Counting Crows.
Yeah.
I still listen to, if I put music on, it's like a 90s alternative or rock channel on the Pandora or Spotify or whatever it is. But, there's not a lot of newer stuff.
Right before the pandemic hit, I joined a 90s band. Predominantly 90s. They do some other things, but mostly it's 90s grunge and rock and stuff.
Just grinding out like Alice in Chains covers and whatnot.
Alice in Chains and STP and all that stuff.
I feel like STP, and I know they were wildly popular, so it'll sound weird to say it, but they're a very underrated band from that time that were, I think, a little more solid than kind of the gimmicky nature of a lot of that stuff.
Right. They were a true rock and roll band, singer causing all kinds of trouble and then dying of drug overdose. It's the way rock and roll should be.
Exactly. Trashing hotel rooms.
That's how rock and roll should be. And comedians. Eventually you're going to have to get a drug addiction and, you're going to have to die of an overdose or something. Or hang yourself in some autoerotic fixation mishap. One of the other.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I just heard just the other day, learned about Robin Williams, is that he was diagnosed with some form of dementia, and that was part of why he killed himself. I had no idea.
I had not heard that either.
That was part of the story, but yeah, I can't imagine being a guy that is like your whole life has just been kind of based on being a sharp, like funny guy, and then you find out that your brain's gonna turn to mush if you keep going. It kind of paints the whole thing in a different light. Because I remember when it happened, everybody was like, "Oh, check on your funny friends," and the happiest people, or the people that seem the happiest, are sometimes the saddest. And,
right.
When you add that part of the story in, it's like, no, I kind of get it. Like,
I mean, was this something that's genetic, or was it because he was doing so much cocaine like in the 70s and 80s?
That I don't know. I don't know what it came from. I just know it was some form of dementia as far as I looked into it.
Huh.
But
Because he was always on, man. All the time.
yeah, before he died, there was a lot of talk that he was a big time, like he would steal people's material and stuff like that. But then, once somebody dies, you don't bring that stuff up anymore.
I had not
But
heard that.
I've heard stories about him being in rooms where they've had open mics where they'll have 10 or 12 comics go on, and then he'll be there, so they have him go last, and he'll go up, or the next night show up somewhere else and be doing material he heard other people do the night before, and when they would call him on it, he would just give them money and be like, "Here, I'm sorry, I'll just pay you for the joke." They say it's just because he was so like he didn't really write material. He just was ridiculous and stream of conscience and always coked up, and would just say shit, and sometimes it would end up being shit he heard the night before. So I don't know if it was like a conscious, stealing people's material, but either way, it's very frowned upon.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that was because of this dementia thing that he had?
No, from what I understood of that part of the story is that it was a fairly new diagnosis, so I don't think it would have been something that like had taken hold yet. I think it was just it sounded to me like it was something he just really didn't want to be around for,
Right. When it did happen. It's not fun, man. Like my mom is kind of going through it right now. Like she's having a hard time remembering things, and
yeah,
it's not I don't know. It's not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't want to backdoor our way into a discussion on euthanasia, but I think there are cases where the argument can be made.
Yeah. Now that things are opening back up and, coronavirus is gone. Uh-oh. And there goes my dogs. Do you have anything coming up you want to plug?
No, nothing live, no live shows. We do a podcast called the Ad Hominem Attack Show.
Right.
That is usually, we put that on Wednesdays, and it's just me and the folks that help run the show. Just lately, it's just been bullshitting about how we're staying alive in the age of coronavirus.
Where can they find that?
It's on all the podcast apps. We don't have like a central website. Just search for the Ad Hominem Attack Show in whatever podcast thing you use.
Okay, so it's probably
Spotify or Podbean, all those.
Irritating.
Other than that, I'll do my Instagram. I am also an artist. I post a lot of art on Instagram at Chris Paugh.
All right, cool.
It's the least divisive thing that I can promote.
All right, that's good to know. When the pandemic is over, I would actually like to have people come into the studio and sit down with me, and talk. I think that would be It's a lot easier to talk to people in face to face than on the telephone.
Yeah, for sure. I'm working on getting a studio set up at the house soon for the show too.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, we've been doing our show for a few years, and that's always been the most fun is when we can sit down in person and not worry about there being a plague rat among us.
Right. Exactly. I liked it better when we can tongue kiss our guests.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Chris, it's been great talking to you, my man.
You too, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. See you.
Like you're gonna start fresh year, but it's never really a new me. It's the same me from last January, like that first week, like confident guy, that's gonna come out and tell these jokes I just made up an hour ago, and they're gonna work. Gonna be thin by March. It's not gonna happen. What actually happens is by the time like the 4th rolls around, I'm so sick of myself, I fake an orgasm while I'm jerking off. Just to get away from me. Like, I hope this guy falls asleep now so I don't have to talk to him anymore.